Again, I'd like to call the Tuesday, December 13, 2016 Committee of the Whole meeting to order. It's 5:39 p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth?
Here.
Councilman Burgess? Councilman Shelley? Here. Councilman Williams?
Here.
Councilman Maldonado? Vice Mayor Faircloth?
Here.
Mayor Porter?
Here. Any additions, deletions, deferrals? None. Tab 1. Roll call, approval of the minutes. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Tab 2. Mr. Manager, Mr. Attorney?
Mayor, the City of Homestead receives a Community Development Block Grant allocation each year from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. At the end of each grant cycle, the city is required to prepare the CAPER and make it available to the community for public comment. Staff recommends Mayor and Council authorize the City Manager to submit the fiscal year 2015-16 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development as presented.
Any questions from council on tab 2? Is there a motion? Moved, and is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any final comments? Mr. Roth?
Yeah, just on page 15, I don't know if that's a typo or not. The paragraph that begins New Homestead Library, Cybrary, the last sentence, I think that should be, and bring the project. Somebody can read that, maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah, sure. It's a grammatical error.
do we see it?
You see where he's
Do
got
we, do
it?
we see it?
That's a typo.
What's the correct word, Calvin?
Begin the project.
And what?
Begin the project.
That's all, Mayor, thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Williams?
Yes, this, on page 4, 4th Street landscaping, and the FICA Williams community, are those within this year?
Yeah, yes, sir. Those were completed the last fiscal year.
Let's look 'em. And, the YMCA Harris Field, those also was completed?
Well, the playground was completed. The installation of the playground inside the building was completed. There's some other projects out there that have been delayed. The drainage project has been delayed because it came in over bid. And then you might recall we moved some more money into that project. And then the new flooring for the daycare center has been delayed because they can't do the flooring until they do the drainage, because that's what damaged the floor was the flooding. So the only project from the YMCA that actually got done last year was the playground inside. So
All right, and the Miami Bridge?
Miami Bridge is the new roof was completed. And right now, they're working on a couple of other projects, a fire alarm and concrete work around the exterior.
How would we be able to get updates on these projects as we approve them? How have you been giving them to us? Is when they're complete, or at the end of the year, or when you come back next year? And how's the evaluation of that given to us as relates to projects that are still in the cycle to be completed?
Well, generally, it's through this report, and I understand this report can be difficult to read.
Oh, I have no problem with reading. I think I'm
Well,
very smart to.
Yeah, it's a little stale because of the format required by HUD. But generally, when projects are completed by the end of the fiscal year, they're reported in this report, and then in the action plan for new projects, we try to do a recap of what's been completed as well. So, but officially, technically, it's reported in this report, which is also entered into an online system with the federal government called IDIS. And in IDIS, when a project is closed out, that's really the official indicator that it's closed, when you close it out online. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. All right, and so the totality of the project is what I'm referring to, so. All right, thank you, and I'll learn to read this better.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor?
Yes, the last time we were discussing the CDBG, I was very vocal about the amount of money that we're putting into Miami Bridge. Just a casual observation, I think it's very important for you to understand or take note of is the fact that we've put more money into Miami Bridge than we've put in our own facilities. $286,000 into Miami Bridge over the span from fiscal years 2010 up until now. So we need to be very cognizant of that, putting more money into those facilities than our own.
yes,
That
ma'am.
facility.
If I may add something, I did receive from their public facilities manager a report of all of their capital expenditures over the last 5 years, I think. And previously, you had requested information on that. So I do have that information, and I am looking at it, and will provide you a summary of that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Williams?
On page 7, would you read that for me, sir? Right after the first graph that you have there, where it says in addition.
In addition to the racial information, the following charts describe the income levels of the people assisted in fiscal year 2015.
So tell me, how does race play into this?
Well, the race plays into it in that HUD requests that racial information, which when the federal government asks for racial information, it's basically broken down into 2 broad categories. The first category is white, black, Asian, Pacific Islander, Native American. And then the second category is Hispanics. Hispanic is not considered a race, it's considered an ethnicity by the federal government. So, for example, you could be a black Hispanic, a white Hispanic, Asian Hispanic. So that's why that's different. So HUD does require you capture racial information for direct benefit activities. So if you go out and you help somebody do something specifically to their house or to an individual, you have to capture that racial information. They're less stringent on area benefit activities, so things like 4th Street landscaping. You can report on racial information, but it's pretty general because it's based on census. So it looks like here we did capture the census information. Yeah, we did capture the census information for public facilities and for the nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'll note that the census tract for like 4th Street landscaping and FICA Williams roof is the same census tract, so you don't double dip the information, you just report it once.
Okay.
So.
All right, just curious. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments or questions? There was a motion and a second, correct, Madam Clerk? There was. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries. Tab 3.
On February 2nd, 2016, Mayor and Council gave direction to begin the application process for CDBG Section 108 loan funds. The city's application was approved on September 19, 2016. In its 2016-17 CDBG action plan, the city allocated $260,149 of its $773,035 entitlement funds toward the estimated annual debt service payment on this 20-year loan. Once the loan is finalized and the debt service schedule is set, any unused funds can be reprogrammed for other CDBG eligible activities. Staff's recommendation that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution and authorize the city manager to execute Section 108 loan agreement with U.S. Housing and Urban Development to provide $3,865,000 towards the Cyberway project.
Questions from council? Mr. Manager, what is the CDGB, is the allotment for the city of Homestead CDGB always going to be capped at 775 or 750? Or does that have a chance to move?
No, sir, it changes based on the actions of Congress, which appropriates the funds every year. So it can go up or it can go down. It just depends.
Okay. So right now, because we're above the 50,000, we are entitled to that 775?
Yes, sir, that is correct. If you're a municipality above a population of 50,000, you get an automatic allocation of the community development block grant funds through HUD, and as well for urban counties, which is a higher population threshold.
Okay. Mr. Williams?
Yeah, so if Congress decide that this program is not as beneficial as it was what do we do then in repaying this? How does that work going forward if we get less money from
Well,
federal government?
okay,
If they say, hey, you know, we don't think that this is going to work for this.
that's an excellent question, and we are trying to determine the exact answer to that question because it is not entirely clear at this point.
Oh, yeah, a lot of things won't be clear for a while, but
Yeah. Now,
for
HUD,
us-
HUD has required that we have collateral in the form of 1 year's repayment in an escrow account. And we did get that clarified with them because, you know, we explained that obviously you can't use the property as collateral once it's purchased. So that satisfies their collateral requirements. You know, as for the what happens if the program is defunded, I don't know, but we're trying to get clarified on that now.
So we have put up a 1 year of repayment for the collateral for this loan.
We will do that. It hasn't been done yet, but that is the requirement. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of things happening at the same time. So that hasn't happened yet, but it will.
What's the amount?
Well, it's the amount of a year's payment, so about $260,000.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions from council? Is there a motion on tab 3? Is there a second? Was seconded? Any other final comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Tab 4.
Mayor, staff recommends the mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing city manager to enter an agreement with Garland DBS for roofing supplies and related products and services for roof replacements for the utilities power plant Area G and for the line crew building located on Gordon W. IV power plant site.
Questions from council on tab 4? Is there a motion on tab 4? Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Tab 5.
The Florida Public Service Commission has mandated that investor-owned utilities inspect all poles on an 8-year cycle. Although municipal utilities are not regulated by the PSC in regard to this matter, as a group, they have deemed it prudent to follow the PSC guidelines and are required to report their pole inspection activities to the PSC in March of each year. Homestead has participated in an annual pole inspection program since 2008. Staff recommends Mayor Council approve the attached resolution authorizing city manager to enter an agreement with Power Pole Maintenance Company for pole maintenance for Homestead Energy Services in the amount of $75,000.
Any questions from council? Is there a motion? Moved by the vice mayor, seconded by Mr. Maldonado. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Tab 6.
Following an RFP process, the city entered into an agreement 06UT001 with Progress Energy Florida on 2/9/2006 to provide transmission services through 12/31/19. The contract reserves transmission access on the PEF, now Duke Energy transmission grid to allow energy to flow from the PEF Duke Energy area to the city of Homestead. Over the years, both the cost of this transmission access and the amount used have increased. The name of the organization has changed, and the right to audit clause is now required on contracts. There's also a Scrivener's error on the original contract, which shows a term of 18 years as opposed to the correct term of 12 years. Costs are determined by tariff and include a 31% projected increase through 2019. They are estimated at $4.925 million for the remainder of the contract, with fiscal year 16-17 estimated at $1.295 million. Approval of this amended contract will address all of those matters. Staff recommends Mayor and Council authorize City Manager to approve an amendment to the existing network transmission demand services contract with Duke Energy, which will reflect Duke's name change, the right to audit clause, and additional costs for the remainder of the contract term.
Any questions from council on tab 6? Is there a motion on tab 6? Moved by Mr. Burgess, second by Mr. Maldonado. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Tab 7.
Staff recommends that the Mayor and Council authorize the City Manager to approve an agreement between the City and Garland DBS for the renovation of roof sections Area 1 and Area 2 at the 25 West Maury Building. Garland DBS will provide all roofing supplies, related products, services as required. This recommendation allows for the procurement of services to provide all labor, materials, tools, and equipment to renovate existing roofs, Area 1 and 2, located at 25 West Maury. The staff has determined it would be the best interest of the city to purchase services from Garland under the U.S. Communities contract. Total cost is $81,147.
Questions from council on tab 7? Is there a motion? Mr. Williams.
And the roofs are, would you name those roofs, George?
Sorry.
What roof are we replacing? Which two roofs?
Yeah, we didn't hear. We couldn't hear you.
Roof, name the roofs that we're replacing, the roofs. Which one are they?
What roofs are you replacing?
The roof is at 25 West Maury, the office building behind the Seminole Theater. We're replacing the roof, and the garage connects to it.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome, Councilman.
Is there a motion on tab 7? Is there a second? Second by the Vice Mayor. All in favor? Motion carries. Tab 8.
Purpose and Talent is requesting the Mayor and Council authorize City Manager to enter a waiver of usage fee in the amount of $50 for the use of FICO Williams Community Center to host a Community Arts and Humanities Workshop on January 7th, 2017. They're a nonprofit organization in Miami-Dade County that addresses at-risk and underserved communities by providing individuals the opportunity to express themselves on stage.
Questions on tab 8, council members? Is anybody here from the applicant? Could you come forward, please?
I'm going to save the time. I'm going to give it to him at my discretion.
Okay, sir. Mr. Burgess is going to pay for your $50 fee waiver, so you won't need to do a fee waiver. If you can have your people contact his office, and he'll make arrangements for that. Correct, Mr. Burgess?
Correct. Information, I can,
You can.
he'll give you a card. Thank you.
Tab 9.
Miami-Dade County Foster and Adoptive Parent Association hosting an in-service training meeting for their foster adoptive kinship families who reside in Homestead and the surrounding township of South Dade. They offer service meetings for their youth while their parents are in training. The council has previously approved requests from this organization. They are requesting a waiver in the amount of $1,800 for the use of FICO Williams Community Center Historical Room and Kitchen. They will be hosting an in-service training on the third Saturday of each month from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the 2017 calendar year.
Questions from council, Mr. Williams?
No questions, Mayor, but just a statement that as the city manager said, we have previously supported their request to be able to use that room and at that with no cost. So hopefully it's still in the will of the council to do so that we can. This is a very good program throughout they have one on the north end, they come down here on the south end, and so this would be very good for our city to continue this relationship.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Roth?
Yes, I'm not opposed to the waiver. Just point out that this is a one-year commitment, it looks like, for the third Saturday of each month. And in the past, has it conflicted with any other organizations that needed to use the facility at that time frame, or were they just told they couldn't because it was already reserved?
Councilman, no, we haven't had no problems, and we have never had a problem with them with any situation at the community center, sir, for the year.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion to waive the fees? This $1,800 is for the entire year, right? Is there a motion on tab 9?
Second.
Moved and seconded? All in favor? Tab 10?
Miami-Dade County Commissioner Daniela Levine Cava is requesting the mayor and council authorize city manager to approve a waiver of usage fees in the amount of $340 for the use of Harris Field Pavilion for the Catalyst Miami Community Health and Wellness Fair on Saturday, January 28, 2017, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They want to encourage parents and children to make better decisions about their health and provide them with access to resources in the community. The organization will be offering the following services: health insurance enrollment, Medicaid and kid care, food assistance, health and financial coaching, credit building, and free tax services.
So where's Commissioner Cava? I was making a joke. Come forward if you don't mind. Making a joke about the commissioner. Is there any questions from council? Is there a motion on tab 10? Moved. It was moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Tab 11.
Staff's recommendation, the mayor and council approve the attached resolution to authorize city manager to purchase materials and installation of new SCADA system at our 75 pump stations in the city of Homestead. Data Flow Systems, Inc. quotes the wastewater transmission SCADA system off the city of Cooper City. The total purchase and installation cost is $1,050,000. This is a 3-year project at $350,000 per year.
It's required, right? Okay, so what do we do if we don't do it? It's required. They shut us down again, right?
The city will go on board.
Okay. Is there a motion on tab 11? Moved, is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Tab 12.
Miami-Dade County signed a consent decree with an effective date of December 6, 2013, with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and the United States Department of Justice, requiring the county to make changes to its sanitary sewer operating practices to ensure compliance with state and federal codes for the operation of sanitary sewer collection systems. Municipalities are required to comply with these requirements. Their proposal is to upgrade the existing GIS system-based sewer atlas for the city's wastewater collection transmission system. The GIS is one of the various requirements mandated by the consent decree. Staff recommends mayor and council approve the attached resolution, authorize the city to enter into an agreement for professional services with Hazen and Sawyer. The proposal is to upgrade the city's existing geographical information system, GIS, for a lump sum not to exceed $41,600.
Again, it's required, correct?
Correct.
Is there any questions? Is there a motion on tab 12? Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Tab 13.
Mayor, this is a discussion item. This is just the legislative package. It's primarily the same as previous years. I just wanted to make sure you were all comfortable. If you had anything to add, subtract, or comment on, otherwise, we're good to go.
Question, in the past, especially at the state level, the lobbyists have said, rank your requests. And when we turn in a booklet of this size with the magnitude of the dollars requested, sometimes you get deer in the headlights at the state level. So I think at some point in time, from my perspective, we as staff should look at, number one, where the money's at, and number two, what is our highest priority from the staff level with the most probability of getting something done with it. So, I think that, the list is very clear to me, and other council members can say, their opinion, but I still think we need to kind of hone in on, highlighting staff's priorities, and then council members and lobbyists taking those priorities and seeking, support for those priorities, because it's too much like this.
Yeah, the dilemma we've had each year when the lobbyists have suggested this is that we as staff never know what a particular, there may be an item on this list that's a relatively low priority. for us, but that's the thing they're funding at the state. And so we've always hoped that the lobbyists would help us figure out what are our best chances and then make a recommendation so that we can bring back to you what priorities are, because we're fairly uncomfortable as staff to say to you, one item is a higher priority for us, if in fact that item has no chance whatsoever of being funded this year, but some other low priority. We also don't want to put you all in a bad position of taking something off the list that is potentially could get funded, because we rely on the lobbyists to tell us what actually is we've got a shot at. So our approach to this has been, here's the big pile, now you tell us what you think you can work on, and if they want to whittle the list down, we're happy to bring it back to you. And or if you want to prioritize them, the only thing I would caution you on is if you prioritize them yourselves, you face the same trap we do, which is we don't know what they're funding.
No, I'm not suggesting that we prioritize them. I mean, I believe that the lobbyists their ears or eyes are on the ground in DC or in Tallahassee. So they're the ones that get a feel for what's maybe available. So I think if their input, your input, and then as we go lobbying, we're carrying the most probable items that have a chance for success, as opposed to us going up there with a $40 million request for a new power plant when we have no chance of getting that. Obviously, that's a need for us, but the probability of us getting that in Tallahassee is probably slim to none. But there's other projects in here. So as long as we're working with our teams that we pay to keep keep us focused and keep us aware of what's going on, that's all I'm suggesting.
Okay.
So, Mr. Burgess?
Thank you, Mayor. No, I would just say that we as Miami-Dade as a whole are in a strong position over the next 4 years. And if we're going to get any of these projects done, it's now or never up there, because I don't think you'll ever see the leadership that's going to be had up there this year with the people that are in committees, and then in the following session when we had the leadership of the House and that from Miami-Dade. So it's a now or never for us. So I think it's important that we make sure we narrow down our 3 or 4 biggest items for each year and try to push them forward. Because I think once the power gets out of Miami-Dade, it's going to be a long time before the other parts of the state allow it to swing back down here the way it is. And with that said, I think we have an opportunity this year to really get some stuff for us. So I would just, like you said, we need to make sure we have our priorities. We're all on the same page, marching for them, and up there beating the drum and the doorways, the hallways, whatever it is that we do, because I think it's now is got us in a position of being able to get some of these things done. And I would just say that, we need to make sure that we're all on the same page with the same narrative and all that as we go around, and that our lobbyists are all on board with us too and keep us abreast of what's happening up there. So, thank you.
I agree, Mike. Mr. Williams?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and I'm in agreement with what I'm hearing, and what I would say is that I don't want to, and as Councilman Burgess has just said, the pendulum is swinging our direction. When you have a Senate Pro Tem who represents Homestead and also has two chair of 2 committees of banking and insurance and health as other, there's some opportunities for us to think outside the box and bring some programs that will enhance the quality of life here that we probably never thought about doing. And so I would just caution to say if we are to limit some things or what we may have, some of us when we go lobby, there's certain things in our packet that we believe that will bring back to help our entire community, that that we ensure. Some lobby for whatever other issues. I'm talking about individual council persons at this time. For, let's take one example could be whatever it is that's in the packet that we've been trying to do for many years. And so I think as we progress and as our community become more diverse in its population, that there are other issues also out there that we may not be aware of, that we have to bring up in our sector of our minds, to say we just can't just limit just to one, because or 2 or 3, because, 65,000 people, how many else, people that are out here in Homestead, maybe up to 70 now, but there's different quality of life issues for, those individuals. And so we're trying to, I think, in our legislative agenda, we're trying to meet those expectations. And so certain things that are in here, I may not be well abreast on or, have the energy to do it. And there are other things in here that I probably can take and push through or use relationships to get done to bring things back to Homestead. So I would just say that we would keep that open keep those open mindsets of such. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shelley?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, similar comments to what's already been made, and that is, I agree that we should have the package that we've submitted here, the legislative kind of priorities. I think that in full it should go to the lobbyists, I think, because they are the ones that should be able to identify the ebbs and flows of the legislative process and knowing, maybe there's a chance to throw something on a bill that no one anticipated at the end of the session. So I think it's the job of our lobbyists to know exactly what our objects are, what our priorities are overall as a whole, and then try to gain and grasp those opportunities that may exist through the process. And that's something our lobbyists need to make sure that they're up to speed on exactly what the City of Homestead's priorities are. However, I also agree that as far as our highest chance of probability of actually getting something funded is when we coalesce around one or two at most items. And we saw that the last 2 years where, we had this real big push for the Seminole Theater and we put all of our efforts behind one item and we got the dollars. First time we got a lot of dollars in a long time. And then same thing last year. We went to our supporters and we said, they asked, what did you want? And we told them, and ultimately we were able to receive dollars. So we had 2 successful years. So I think if there is an item that we all really want, I think it's also critical, after advice from our lobbyists, to pick that item or 2 items and say, this is the priority, and put all our efforts behind it. That's going to increase our likelihood of actually getting that product funded or whatever the legislative pass that we want to have done, at least from my experience. And the other thing we all need to be aware of is that, the new Speaker of the House is not a fan of lobbyists, and specifically government lobbyists and county lobbyists. And so it's something else that we need to, staff needs to look at with our city attorneys and with our lobbyists, discuss strategically, because I know there are some discussions about the chances are that if you are a government entity and you employ a lobbyist, that you may not have any chance at all of getting any project passed, because that's the current nature of it up there as far as the speed in the House side. Senate's a little different than the House. So I think that's something strategically we need to think about as we're moving forward as a body for this year, is working with our lobbyists to address that situation and make sure that we aren't, because we have a lobbyist on staff that's registered for the city, ultimately all of our projects will be dead on arrival. So just something else that we need to have discussion on as the session approaches.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And looking at this, my takeaway was we have a whole litany of projects here. I think we should have a laser-like focus and be strategic as far as what we as a body would like to coalesce around, as opposed to all of us going up there throwing darts and not really hitting the target. So we have to be a unified front when we go to Tallahassee to determine which ones we're very passionate about and which ones are low-hanging fruit that can potentially get us funds awarded. What I didn't see on here, and I don't know if I missed a memo or an email, did anyone reach out to us as far as asking for items that we would want to potentially place on here?
Email went out. I'll double check. Exactly.
I searched. I mean, I could have missed it because, I've been really busy.
But as is stated in the memo on the legislative packet, we'll be happy to add anything that you're interested in to the legislative packet. And I apologize if you missed the email, and I'll go back to my records and make sure that it...
No, I'll look again. What I would have liked to see on here, and I think I've been mentioning this for 2 years, is senior citizen programming. We didn't have enough money through the surplus funds for CDBG. We didn't have enough applicants to apply to provide senior programming into the city. And I mentioned during this process, potentially we can get money from the state, but I didn't see it on here. And I would like to have seen some senior citizens programming on here, because there are some elected officials in Tallahassee that spend a lot of money on senior citizens programming. So I would like to see that, as well as crime prevention initiatives. I believe in being real time, and this is a real issue right now, and you have to strike when it's hot. So I would like to see public safety and crime prevention initiatives on this legislative agenda as well.
Absolutely. We can make those additions, and I'll look back at the police department items and see if there's any overlap with some of those prevention programs.
Even if it's not a police department item, I would like it to be my item. We can place it on there for crime prevention initiatives.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Burgess?
Thank you again, Mayor. Just two quick things. I know that all requests for money is going to have to go in to committee, almost like a bill. So I'm not sure if our attorneys have been reading that and all that. So if we're going to request all these things that are in here, we need to start drafting bill-type language for them now, because it's going to have to be submitted, and committees are starting to meet next, they're already meeting, on the side. So if we're behind a little bit already on that, all these requests are going to have to be written up and submitted to the committees, as was discussed last week at the Florida League of Cities. Another thing that was discussed, and Gemma should pay attention and make sure she's ready, because CRAs are going to come under attack again this year at the state level to be defunded. So we're going to have to stay abreast of that and be ready for a battle at that. The Florida League of Cities believes that that's going to be one of the biggest battles of the year, is CRAs. So we better make sure we're paying attention at that level too. So
Is that battle with the counties again?
it's going to be more of a state thing, and counties, just everybody wants to do away with them. So we're going to have to keep an eye out and watch them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Williams?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. In response to Councilman Burgess, it's my understanding that the House, that these legislative items, as you said, has to be through bills, and those persons who represent Homestead have to be willing to sponsor those bills. Is it still the same, Richard? Or so that how many can each representative write, bills? I thought there was a limit to how many.
Yeah, I was just talking with George. We will get in touch with our lobbyists tomorrow morning to find out what the status is, what the requirements are, because
My understanding is the House is not even, they won't be organized until January.
but we need to get in touch with our lobbyists and get ahead of this. And so I'm glad we're having the
Senate's
discussion.
already organized, but the House, from my understanding, will not organize until mid-January.
The Senate's going to stay the old-fashioned way.
Yes.
And the House is going to be the new way, but
And so some of these priorities or whatever, you have to find a person in the House who's going to sponsor the bill. And if we've not done the groundwork yet, then, or had the commitments yet, then, all of this, what we're talking about, is really out the door. And so we've not made those preliminary relationships to say, please, would you sponsor a bill for me? Then through the House, it's going to die regardless. So all of these priorities, if we've not made the contact yet with some of the stuff that we're asking, then if there's a limit on the bills on each person, then we're going to be scrambling trying to get persons to write our appropriation bills in there from where we are. And we just need to find out how many bills can each representative write or sponsor. That's going to be the huge dilemma. I already know because I've already started.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shelley?
Yeah, Councilman Williams actually pointed out one of the things I was going to bring up, and that is that not only do you have to have it submitted as a bill form, it has to be officially sponsored by one of the House representatives, which is, a longer process. I think the deadline's February 7th, from what I understand, to have those budgetary bills filed. My understanding is unlimited bills for budgetary purposes, but still they're all going to have to be vetted and then potentially signed committees. But again, a lot of that's going to be done at the speaker level and at the appropriations level, and so he or she will handpick those bills, budget bills that actually make committees. So it's going to be a different process this year, but it needs to, so if we're going to do anything, we got to start quickly, and we got to find our sponsors to submit those bills to even get considered. Otherwise, we're not even going to be in the game.
Yep. Mayor? Mr. Manager?
Just want to clarify a point, because I just want to make sure I understand what your expectations are in terms of this process and the lobbyists that we have for these roles. Our understanding is that the lobbyists get a list from us, and then they take it from there and they do their jobs. Are you asking us to do that work for them, or are we supposed to give them direction that this is what you want from them? Because I've not heard this once from them about, we've got to start drafting bills for each one of these items. And what we followed is the process is we give them the information, and then they're supposed to be responsible for this. The reason we have them is because we're not experts in what they do up there, and, you know, if we start doing this work for them, then I'm not really sure we have a need for them, quite frankly.
Mr. Maldonado.
Thank you, Mayor. Two items. One, I sit on the actual committee that is giving support to the CRAs. We've drafted language in support of it because it was one of the top priorities, if not the top priority for our committee. And so we have some language put in place that all cities throughout the state are going to support. I think it's important in one of the discussions that this happens also on the county level. Our county representatives are the ones that are going to have to speak up or help us out as well. So again, to Gemma, if she's, I mean, if you guys are working with in regards to CRA, it is going to be a big item. And again, and I say that just because I'm in that committee, and that took a gist of all of our time just to craft the language that we're going to propose to support it. And then second, just going back to what the manager just said, I was going to propose that, obviously this year is different. And it's, in the past, we've just kind of gone to our lobbyists and said, okay, this is, work with us and kind of give us a guide. But in this case, we're going to have to be brought up to speed on the process because not all of us up here understand that, as well as staff. And so that we are all, and as it's been set up here, that we're all, kind of on a united front on the points of this year in legislation, because it's no longer the same the way it works up there. So I think it's important that staff and are up to date on what's happening as well. So how you guys do that?
And what we're going to do, unless there's an objection, is we're going to mention to them that Jewel had mentioned that bills have to be drafted, and we're going to basically give them the ball of control to do whatever they need to do to carry out that direction, because I don't know anything about drafting bills.
Right.
We don't have that expertise, and nobody from their side has told us that we need to be drafting anything other than...
In this case, we just have to be a lot proactive, and as opposed to they're telling us what's coming down the pipe. That's normal. Okay, this is what can be funded. In this case, we're going to have to tell them, look, these are our priorities. We're going to have to draft bills for whichever ones we think are important. But it's us really being more proactive in this round, as opposed to they're kind of telling us the lay of the land.
That's all, sir. Okay. Mr. Burgess.
Thank you. I just spoke with one of our lobbyists, and he said what he would like to do is to have, we send them our list with a brief description of each item, which we basically have in there, and then they will take it to the member and see what the member, and they have some members lined up, what the member will move forward, and then they will have to come back probably for some more information from us.
Great.
So that's what they suggested at this particular time.
Terrific.
Thank you.
And that's consistent with how we've been doing it. I think we're saying the same things. Things are going to be a little different, but we do hire them to do that for us. And the only thing that I think the comments have been 25 or 30 items compared to 3, 2, 1 is where we've had more success in the past. So I think we're all on the same page. It's just
Great.
So what do you need from us on this? Just you have your...
Unless you have any other changes other than the ones the Vice Mayor mentioned, and if you have no objection to those changes, we'll add them. And if somebody has anything else, just let us know as quickly as possible.
I think the Vice Mayor had some additional items she'd like to put on there, and I don't think anybody's opposed to that. So,
Great.
we're good.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Moving second, all in favor? Aye. Motion to adjourn, meeting adjourned.